aluminum tariff, and I'm like, what the heck's that going to do to Apple?
It went up today. It went back today.
They're not using their iPhones. Come on,
I would like to call to order this September 11th, ominous date to call to order, Finance Committee meeting of the Ascension Parish Finance Committee. I'll ask Reverend Dawson if he will please lead us in the prayer, and if you will please stand and remain standing for this pledge, we'd appreciate it.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for your recent protection of our parish and the residents of the parish in the recent tropical depression and the issues there. We also pray for those people in the Carolinas, in that area, that are looking at a pretty horrific storm coming upon them. We realize the challenges that they face, and so we pray for them that you will help protect the lives and property in that area. We also lift up and pray for the family of Kenny Matassa at the loss of his father, that you continue to minister and heal their sorrows and wounds. And we ask for your continued protection of Ascension Parish and the upcoming storms and depression in the area, that this hurricane season will be mild and it will affect our residents and the people of this parish in a minimal way. We thank you for your wisdom in guiding the people's business and all that you give us and do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have several members of the Finance Committee absent tonight. Councilman Joseph will not be here. I'm not sure about Councilman Turner or Councilman Cluott. They do on occasion. Oh, Cluott's here. Oh, there he is. So Councilman Cluott is here. We'll notify the secretary if anyone else joins us. There are no chairs additions to the agenda. The public comment period precedes each item on the agenda, so should you have a comment and you're a member of the public and you would like to comment, please see the secretary, sign in. She'll give you a card. The first item under general business is item number 5, Ascension Economic Development, the introduction of the representatives of Project Dr. Who, and we welcome them. Ms. Kate.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So tonight we have Dr. Who for your consideration. We sent over some interesting points about the project and the economic numbers for this project, and then also put them out tonight so you would have them in front of you. It is a food and beverage manufacturer that is looking to locate in the city of Gonzales. They are here tonight. It's a small business, which is something totally new to our parish. So this fits into our diversification plan. It is a relatively small impact to the parish and a little bit larger impact to the city. So we are looking at 4 new jobs created, an initial investment of $700,000 with an additional tourism impact that we didn't calculate. So this project overall has $110,000 direct impact to the parish, and it's a new and interesting venture for us. So we have Dr. Solto here tonight from Sugarfield Spirits, and he's going to talk to you about his project and why he would like to request an ITEP exemption.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. My name's Thomas Solto, and first of all, I'd like to say I appreciate the prayers for South Carolina. My mom's actually evacuating to us right now from the coast, so yeah, I grew up in Georgetown, which is probably going to take the south side of the storm. So, so thank you for that. I think I had a presentation. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about Sugarfield Spirits, which is a business that I'm starting. I'm proposing to put in Gonzales. We're proposing to put it on the corner, very close to the corner of Highway 30 and Highway 44, so Burnside. If you know where the Tractor Supply is, it's directly behind that in that business park. We've bought a piece of property there. We're working right now on architectural plans, and that's where we're hoping to be. This is what it probably is going to look like, at least preliminarily. I think we actually made some changes to this last week, so it's still kind of a little bit of a work in progress. So just to kind of let you know about what we're doing, people question me all the time, are you going to make beer? And that's not exactly what I'm going to do. So there's various ways you can make alcohol, at least licensed by the federal government. You can be a winery, so you'd make things like sake, you'd make mead, make wine. You can be a brewery where you'd make beer. And a distillery is a little different. A distillery takes similar products to that. It takes a wine, takes a beer, and then runs it through a column, actually fairly similar to all the petrochemical things that are up and down the Mississippi right here, and fractionates out the water and the ethanol by temperature differences. So very similar to how you would separate out crude oil. Things that are made by a distillery would be things like whiskey, bourbon, gin, rum, products like that. Craft distilleries are kind of a newer idea. Obviously the big distilleries in the United States right now are in Kentucky, and that's what everybody thinks of when they think of bourbon. There's most of the rum's produced in the Caribbean, and craft distilleries probably about 10 years ago started becoming a little bit more common. Primarily, they started on the West Coast and in the Northeast. Right now in Louisiana, actually, it's going to be 16 because one of the distilleries just went out of business. So there's 16 distilleries in Louisiana right now. The city of Portland, Oregon, actually has 18. The state of Oregon, which is a similar sized state to Louisiana, has 83. The state of Washington has 100. So I think we're not saturated at this point by distilleries, and most of the distilleries that are in Louisiana right now are actually pretty small. One of the ideas behind craft distilleries is this local idea, taking products from that area, and there's going to be differences. The French call it terroir, where the wine that we produce, this bottle of wine, is going to be different next year because it's a different growing season. But it's also going to be, if my neighbor 2 doors down made it, it would be different also because his soil's different. And this Burgundy grape that I'm growing in France, if we grow it in Napa, same grape, same winemaker even, it's going to be different because of different climate things. So that's kind of what we're proposing with our distillery here, is that this is going to capture Ascension Parish or this area right here, and is going to kind of show that off. We're planning on doing a variety of products. We're going to do a rum and a vodka to start off with, and probably a gin. And then I'm going to be working on bourbon as soon as I can. The problem with bourbon, and this is one of the reasons I'm actually requesting ITEP, is that I'm going to be sitting on bourbon for 4 to 6 years before it's ready. I think a lot of people release bourbon early, and it's not good. I think that you really have to kind of sit on and let it mature. And I think that's obviously a pretty big cash infusion for something that's not going to be a cost stream or a revenue stream for a while. I love local fruits here. I love strawberries and like oranges and kumquats, and we're going to do some liqueurs, some kind of sweetened products based on those local fruits also. So we're proposing, I think I'm committing to 4 jobs over this period. I think we'll probably actually produce more than that over 5 years. It's hard to commit to those jobs, immediately at this point as a small business owner. We'll definitely have a distiller, probably a couple of distillery assistants. There'll be a couple of bartenders that'll probably be part-time. We're going to need a chemist for sure, and that's probably something that'll happen in the second year. A sales manager and probably an event manager. I expect my initial investment is going to be about $700,000. I expect to probably put $1 million of my own money into this over the first couple of years. And for y'all, I think like Kate said, it's an interesting new business. There's not a lot of them around. The state of Louisiana and the State Distillers Guild right now is working on a distillery trail. I don't know if y'all know the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky. So the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky has about 1.2 million visitors a year, and they've estimated that it has a $1 billion impact on the economy of Kentucky. I'm not saying that we're going to put $1 billion into the state coffers immediately, but certainly I think it would have a lot of tourism draw, and hopefully we'll have some direct tourism impacts on this area. We also proposed that we're going to have a kind of a gathering place too, and an event space for other events too. We've been very happy with the welcome that we've gotten from Ascension Parish and from Gonzales, and we appreciate it. Ascension Parish is perfect, I think, for this business. About halfway in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, so we'll get tourism traffic out of New Orleans as well as getting people from Baton Rouge. This area is growing so fast right now. Y'all know that. Just the number of new people that are moving in here, and this will give them something to do around here instead of going to other places to spend their money. We've had such a nice welcome from this area, so we're very hopeful to be here. So, as we're kind of going through this process, I'd love to have your support as we go through the regulatory process. Alcohol is a very regulated business in the United States, and I'm going to do all my due diligence and pay all my taxes and everything. I'd love your support as I'm applying for all those licenses. I'd love your support for my ITEP application also, and then in 6 months or so, I'd love for y'all to be thirsty and come by and have a drink. Okay. What questions can I answer for y'all?
Sure, we'll begin on this end. Mr. Dawson.
Welcome. I had maybe Kate might answer this, but does this have to be approved by the city of Gonzales also?
Yes, so it's already been approved by the city of Gonzales and the sheriff, and we've done the school board intro, but the meeting got moved to next week.
Okay, so one quick question, what's your experience? Can you?
My experience with distilling?
Yeah.
So distilling is an illegal process. And
He can't admit to having any experience.
And I'll be completely honest with you, I don't have experience with this other than a couple of days that I've spent in distilleries just kind of helping out. As Kate said, I'm a physician.
Okay.
So I have a DEA license that I don't want to mess up. So I have never actually distilled. A lot of
And that's a
distillers
promise, I guess.
Excuse me?
That's a promise that you've never distilled.
Yes, that actually is a promise. A lot of people have the story of Grandpappy and the back holler and how he grew up distilling with them, and I don't have that story, and I'm certainly not going to put it on a website like a lot of people do.
So I'd like to make the motion to approve this.
Second.
Have a motion to approve, a second to approve, motion by Councilman Dawson, second by Councilman Kluwat, I believe it was, who spoke first. Any other questions? Mr. Satterley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Hu. In your slides, you talked about making bourbon,
Yes, sir.
and you used a term that made the old chicken doctor really look it up, terroir.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do, it says in the dictionary, to do with the local flavor, as you said. In other words, the climate, the soil, and so forth. But what would be your cereal grain for fermenting to make whiskey, for example, or bourbon?
It's going to be sugarcane and molasses for
Grown
my
locally.
rum, and rum's going to be a big product that we're going to have.
Grown locally.
And then I've been talking to some people about corn. Bourbon has to be at least 51% corn. I'm actually proposing to make 100% corn bourbon up front, and that'll be kind of the expression of.
That's why I was asking you, because you won't be getting the corn from here, will you?
I've been talking to someone on the other side of the river about corn.
Be careful.
Okay.
Okay. Work great for your muscadine.
Excuse me?
You work great for your muscadine for the wine.
Yes, sir.
Because we produce some hellacious muscadine grapes. Do you have any intention to name any of the products for local fame? For example, we're all very aware of the Abita Brewing Company in Abita Springs, Louisiana. They have multiple beers and have named them after all kinds of local things.
Yeah, and we're working right now on our whiskey name. And, you know, I think we're batting around a couple ideas for.
And you could come to us and get a nice license to do that and pay us a big chunk of money, right? Something like I don't know, Ascension Powerhouse or something, I don't know.
The hardest part about this whole process has actually been getting a name. The federal government won't allow you to duplicate a name that has been used by a winery or a brewery or a distillery. So all these beer names, they've used up a lot of names. And like every time I've come up with a good name that I love, I go look it up on Google and somebody's gotten it already.
Well, don't forget about our jambalaya.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Jambalaya whiskey actually sounds pretty good.
Hey, I give it. You ask would we come and sample it? I'll be your first customer.
Okay, perfect.
You have anything?
No, appreciate coming
Thank you.
in the parish.
Mr. Kluwat?
Yeah, first of all, Kate, I want to thank you. You know, when I served on economic development and we started this journey pretty strong, one of the main things that I pushed forward to the board was to not only capture big industry, but go out and let's help the mid-range manufacturing, diversify our area. And so thank you very much for your due diligence, you and your staff. And hey, man, we welcome you.
Thank you.
So, you know, I know it's a little tricky what you're doing there, and you got to put a good product in front of people.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people making crap. You know what I mean? So, and the beers have been outstanding, but the true distilleries, are few and far between. So. We appreciate it. I know we had there was a survey in the Baton Rouge area, and it was really one of the things on the tourism front and things that were talked about was not a crisis, but the lack of true distilleries in the area to give the local flavor based on your ingredients and the way the people that are doing it. We don't have any hollers over here, but we got a lot of swamp. And that's pretty much where we, and I'm going to say that collectively, make it, you know. So anyway.
One thing in my whole experience in investigating like suppliers, Louisiana is right now supplying people in Oregon. They're supplying people in Colorado. They're supplying a fair number of the Caribbean rum manufacturers with their molasses and their sugar. We need to be doing that here. You know, Louisiana rum should be a thing, and I think that's a consensus of about 5 or 6 of us in the state right now, that Louisiana rum should be. You know, when you think of Jamaican rum, your next sentence should be Louisiana rum.
Well, we have plenty of events that go on within our area and within the state that'll leave a good retail outlet for your craft.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions down there? Well, I'm the only one here with a grandfather that went to federal prison for distilling. What can I say?
You're the only one that admitted it.
There you go. I've got experience with them. I did also recently take in an article. I don't remember what magazine I was reading, but one of the things that it said was that you could judge the vitality and health and innovation of a community by one thing: whether there was a craft brewery present. And I thought that was interesting to then see this. It spoke highly about the opportunity for both tourism and financial productivity of a manufacturing facility like you're proposing. So certainly, I'm excited.
Awesome.
I'm like Doc. I'll be there to have a rum.
Perfect.
So we have a motion and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And good luck. Next item on the agenda, number 6, is we continue with Ascension Economic Development Corporation's quarterly briefing. Hello there.
All right. Well, somehow I think we have 2 quarters that we're presenting tonight. we've had a lot of things going on, so it's a two-page report times two. So we have our usual prospect activity with the total amount of projects, investment, and jobs that we're looking at. So if all of our current prospects would come to fruition, we'd be looking at $6.4 billion of investment and 690 new jobs. Realistically, we're focusing on our A category projects, the ones most likely to make a decision within this next 12-month period, which would represent $3 billion and 179 new jobs. We've had a fair amount of movement lately. We did add one new A project on your list. If you look at Project Splendid, it's a new retail development, so hopefully that one keeps moving along swimmingly and we can get some new retailers that we do not have in our parish to locate in a large-scale development. Additionally, we do have another A project that we have met with since our last meeting, and they said that they should be looking at a decision timeline in the first quarter of 2019. So that's a positive movement on our list for another billion-dollar project that we would be looking at winning. So something new that we added this time, on the last page, we attached a list of the status of the projects that we've approved since this new ITEP executive order went in. So you can look at the top of the list has the 6 projects that have been approved all the way from the local level to the Board of Commerce and Industry. They have all been announced except for Reflection, which was Methanex, and we're still looking at a mid to third quarter announcement next year for that project, should it be approved. And then we have another project that has been approved on the local level, but is still pending CNI Ford, and then we have the 2 that are currently finishing their local level. So if all of these go through and announce, we'd be looking at 138 new jobs and over $2 billion in investment since we started this new ITEP process last year. So that is pretty amazing considering what we've been working under with these new orders that have changed again. So as of August 20th, we are now under the new ITEP rules, which the main difference is it starts at the state level when the Board of Commerce and Industry will approve the project, and then it comes to the local level. So we are still working on the development of the local guidelines. We're just running it through the assessor's office right now for their thoughts with our recommendations. Then we'll be bringing them to all of the local governing bodies to also consider. Essentially, it changes the incentive to 10 years at 80%. So there would be no changes in the position, and essentially all you have to do is say yes or no if you want to offer that or not. So the fun part of it all is that businesses can still participate in any of the 3 programs based on when they file their initial advance application. So we can still have projects under the old rules. We could have projects under the second rules, or we could have projects under these new rules. So it's going to be a lot of fun still as we continue on. The other good news is we are on target to meet our 50 visits for our Business Retention and Expansion program. Lisa has been setting up appointments and running us ragged, but it's great because we have 2 companies having big celebrations this year. So Blue Runner has been in business for 100 years. And Nova Chemical will be celebrating 50 years. So these are the main reasons we continue this business retention and expansion in an aggressive way, is to continue to encourage them to reinvest in their facilities so they can continue to be open for another 100 years. So we have discovered a few new projects based on these business retention visits and are still working to close a few more this year. We have our latest lead numbers, so we still are receiving our requests from information. We get a lot from the state, that's our main source. We get some from our regional partner at BRAC. And then we generate a lot in-house from people who either call us directly or other people in the community, and then some utility partners. So we are also looking at consulting companies that do lead generation for us as another option next year to try and get some more qualified leads. So at this point, we've received 35 requests in 2018 for projects, and we have been able to convert 12, is that right? 11 to projects on our tracker. So some of them we just don't qualify for. We don't have the raw materials, or we don't have direct adjacent access to a runway. There's just different metrics that we don't always meet. The majority of the projects are still in manufacturing, and we're still working to diversify our economy, but we still see that manufacturing is our stronghold. We have been doing a lot of work on the Riverplex Megapark on the West Bank. That's one of our main focuses this year, and it'll continue to be that way. We have brought 2 projects. We brought Project Jazz and Project Pretzel to visit the Riverplex Megapark. They both, actually, the projects ended after that visit for the Riverplex Megapark, but at least it was another initial interest that they wanted to see. For these particular projects, the infrastructure cost was too high for the economy of scale of what the project was. So we still get looks, but we still have a lot of work to do. We are investing $20,000 in marketing just for that site this year, and that's not from our dollars, that's from partners and grants that we've been able to receive. So we will actually be finishing the website next week, so it will have its own standalone mega site, and then it will also have a video just for the site itself, and then BRAC is doing a storyboard for us, which will be a focus on GIS and on the chemical industry, showing where workforce draws come from, where other like businesses are. So it's just a little bit more in-depth mapping to really put a focus on the site. We're doing increased communication with the railroad and the Port of Greater Baton Rouge, and we're also looking at potentially engaging on the developer study, which was one of the things that came out of the work that CSRS did a few years ago. We have one piece of the Riverplex Megapark that is under certified site certification right now, the LJ Knoll piece. So they are close to certification, so that'll be another plus for the entire area, because a lot of what's on one site is the same on other sites, so it'll help get a better understanding, and it'll also, highlight, so we'll at least have one piece that pops up on all the marketing that's going to direct it to the rest of the site. So these are all positive for this year, and we'll continue to do more as each year comes by. For the certified sites, in addition to that LJ Knoll site, we also have 2 small sites that we're looking at. So that's a new program. So it's for sites under 30 acres. And instead of heavy industrial, these are for light industrial and mixed use. So it's a new way to get some more diverse businesses into the program. So we have Double D Development in Gonzales that has 29 acres. That's under certification right now. And then we have one that's pending on Ashland Road, which is a 30-acre piece that I believe the parish is helping put a connector road right next to it between Ashland and St. Landry. So it'll be kind of a nice access point for that site also. We're continuing to meet with administration and other public officials and talk to them about what we have going on and ways that they can be involved and different things that we need help with, and that continues to go well. We'll have our annual landowner meeting with the folks in Modest in a couple of weeks. We do that once a year to kind of tell them what activity has been happening and what we're doing on their behalf to continue to get that partnership with them, to continue to keep our industrial overlay over there so we can fast track any development that does happen. Another new development this year, the Opportunity Zone incentive was finalized. So it's great, except nobody knows how to use it yet. So essentially what's happening is if you have capital gains that are out in the market and you don't want to remove them because you don't want to pay taxes, you can roll them into an Opportunity Zone fund in an investment in an Opportunity Zone area. So our entire West Bank is considered an Opportunity Zone area. So as long as we can connect the people who have these capital gains that want to invest them, then we can move forward with any type of project. It can be residential, it can be hotel, it can be industrial, anything qualifies. So there's very few rules on this program, and there's very few red tape to go with it. It's just trying to navigate how to market strategically to the people who can most take advantage of it. So we have met with a couple people in Donaldsonville that are interested in a mixed-use development and a hotel, so they may be able to take advantage of this. So we're continuing to put together a strategy to really market and use the Opportunity Zone while we have it. And then Small business and entrepreneurship, and Becca has both incubators open, one in Donaldsonville and one at Lamar Dixon. They're continuing to do their small business development courses and work with entrepreneurs, so that is going well for the most part. We're trying to steer more people into their doors and keep the doors open. We've also participated in Small Business Power Week, which was held the first week of May. And then we did a booth at the Chamber Expo where we did a Made in Ascension booth, and we highlighted the different manufacturers and the products that are made locally. And it was really surprising that nobody knew that Ola Nola chips came from Ascension Parish. So we gave them out for free as long as they came and listened to our talk. We've done a lot of work locally and on the regional level. We helped the city of Gonzales become certified as a development-ready community, so that was a big deal for them. It's another step added to their master plan. We worked at the Greater Baton Rouge Industrial Alliance on a panel. Councilman Dawson was also on the panel. So I think we had a pretty good showing from Ascension. We're on the committee for the master land use plan, and we encourage everybody to attend these next upcoming meetings. And we also attended the Cultural Affairs Committee trip to Melan with the city of Gonzales, and we are working to convert the trip from a cultural exchange to a business exchange. So we're hoping that every year that goes by, we can do more of a economic development. So we did one day this year. Hopefully we can extend that in the future. And we're doing also an intern exchange. So that's interesting. So we're trying to work with the city to develop that relationship more away from just the traditional role to a more business-sided role as well. So that's, I think, pretty much what we've been up to. If you have any more questions or if there's something I missed, Lisa will answer them.
I doubt you missed a thing. But if there are any questions, gentlemen, Councilman Kluot.
Just real quick, you guys, as we are constantly, we're in competition regionally in the Gulf South region for industry. And then, we usually beat out Mobile, but we stay in competition with Texas, South Coast there on the Gulf. But we've been for the past, I don't know how many years, recent years, been getting into some strong competition with our neighboring parishes. And so how's that going? Is through LED? I'm just wondering how much, we don't want to get in fights with our neighboring parishes, of course, but we understand that if somebody, say in St. James Parish, puts up a facility and hires 500 workers, then probably 300 of them are going to live in Ascension Parish. So we have a reflection on that. So I was just wondering on the state level is, how's that being handed out? Because I looked at the numbers you talked about. You had 35 requests. You converted 11, but looking at for information, you got BRAC with 3 and LED with 17, which should be the biggest one anyway.
So the
I
state
guess
is,
I'm talking, I need
right.
to let you answer.
So the state is impartial. So to them, it doesn't matter which parish is selected as long as a parish is selected. So if it came down to, I would say Project Pencil is probably a good example, where ultimately the project was searching for an existing building and they found it, and so they chose that site. So the state did a lot of work. I mean, they were actively trying to overcome the obstacles we had here, but at the same time, to them, it's still a win because it's still in Louisiana, but it's a loss to us. So, I mean, that is their role. I mean, we never expect anything else, but just to say, well, if some large chemical company locates in St. James Parish, but then we get all the infrastructure burden, they're not going to do anything about that. So they may help on the infrastructure side with the manufacturing operations itself, but not on road projects to connect neighborhoods. So just one of the things that they just don't do.
Yeah, and I know one of the things that does push them across the line sometimes is basically the air quality issues and us being in the Baton Rouge area and that magic parish line over there that
We're all in
all of a
attainment
sudden air
now.
is good, so.
And we do, I mean, we have facilities that are on both. We have them in Iberville and Ascension and St. James and Ascension where they're actually sitting on the line.
Right.
So and was one of our ITEP fears, was we would have to run it through that many political bodies, and it's still a possibility, so we'll handle that when it comes.
Thank y'all for the fight.
Any other questions or comments, gentlemen? Mr. Dawson?
You don't mind? Okay. I'm glad to see someone else there is trying to have more communication with the rail. You can put a good word in for us. We having some drainage issues. We need a good point of contact. How's that going for you?
They're good at responding, but they're not good at setting up the meetings. So they're good at emails.
So guess what? We're in the same boat here.
We've had 2 successful meetings so far, but action items from those meetings are slow.
Okay. Yeah, if we end up with some good contact information, that we'd definitely appreciate sharing with everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dawson?
So I wanted, good report, thank you. I'd like to see some of those billions move down into the success column, but I know that'll happen. I wanted to take a minute and thank you for setting up the tour that we had at the John Foles facility. It was very great. Guess it was about 4 of us there, Benny, John, Aaron, Oliver, and I. One thing I learned there, millions of pounds of food go through there in a day. He's got this freezer that holds 1 million pounds by itself, employs over 100 employees, and ships to all over the world, literally. So, myself, I learned a lot, and it's a great facility to have, not just in Ascension Parish, but on the West Bank also. So thank you for setting that up. I want to reiterate the Opportunity Zone, and, hopefully, and I guess I had not heard that the regulations had actually been written. So is that the case, or?
So right now, you can go ahead and invest, and you only have one form you have to file with your taxes. But they're going to come out with the frequently asked questions and a few more guidelines in the fall.
Okay.
But it's open.
It's open, so the
So if you were
investments-
already making an investment, those people have already filed.
Okay. Last, guidelines, I think there's, is there a timetable on us establishing some guidelines for the new ITEP?
So we have till November 1st to make
Okay.
our best effort. And in our initial conversation with the assessor's office, they felt that the ones that our board had been working on were good and acceptable, and they just wanted to run it by the sheriff and the council and the school board before we finalized those.
So the council, needs to realize that's something that we'll have to either adopt or revise those guidelines as far as the latest new ITEP procedure. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you again, Lisa and Kate.
Thank you both very much for being here. John?
Just real good. Thank you for your hard work. I know you ladies spend a lot of time, and for the small staff, you get a lot done. We appreciate that. The new ITEP's basically 80% 10 years, correct? And there were some discussions about the approval process from local governments, local governing authorities.
Yeah, I think that's.
Has that been addressed directly in the new procedure yet, or is that still being considered?
So the only new process is that you guys get to say yes or no. So that's essentially what it is. And what they requested in the rules was for us to come up with some kind of reasonable guidelines on how you said yes or no. So what we kind of put together, which we'll be sending out, is what the process basically is now, where we provide you with all the additional information and set up and facilitate any meetings that you may want to have after the Commerce Industry Board approves it. But then we need to figure out the strategy when it comes to Cinnamon for disbursement to the council. If you had wanted to put it on a public meeting agenda, how you would go about doing that. So that's that local guideline piece that we're assisting and putting together with the assessor's office in order to move that along so that you don't wait 30 days and on day 29 you decide, oh wait, I want to put it on an agenda. So that will only gives you 30 more days, but we're trying to make it as short of a timeline as possible to help the companies get through the process.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both very much for being here.
Thanks.
Item number 7, the renewal of a contract for professional services, topographic and boundary surveying services between Ascension Parish Government and T. Baker Smith. Who's going to be representing Ron tonight? Mr. Daniels.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, council members. This is just the renewal of some existing contracts. They have all the same terms and conditions.
All right. So we have a motion on number 7 by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, a second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any questions? Mr. Dawson.
But I have one comment that you have Bill Rue as the contact person in all of these contracts. I would recommend that we put someone else, somebody that works here. Oh, you got it? It's not in our notes. Okay.
Change it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
He still wanted to be the contact person. Just as it's gone, that don't mean it can't be contact.
He still wants to get the cost.
Well, he's going to still get the blame, so he might as well get the credit.
Getting that every day.
All right, so so item number 7, we have a motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, a second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any further questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Number 8 is a renewal of a contract for professional services, topographic and boundary surveying services between Ascension Parish Government and Quality Engineering. I don't know that you need to elaborate on each one. We can get through this process much more quickly if we don't do that.
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item number 9, renewal of master contract for professional services, topographic and boundary surveying
Motion.
services.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Bill Dawson, second by Councilman Satterley. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item number 10.
Motion.
renewal-
Second.
Motion by, thank y'all, you getting this? Thank you. Motion by Councilman Aaron Lawler, second by Councilman Kluot. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item number 11.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Satterley.
Second.
Excuse me, coming from the wrong side. Councilman Cagnolati, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. All right. Item number 12, amendment number 4 to the master contract for professional services for architectural engineering services for flood recovery projects, Mujo Architecture, LLC, to increase the original contract amount by an additional $125,000 for the design work for a repair, replacement of Station 61 as a result of the August 2016 flood.
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Lawler, or Councilman Johnson. My hearing is bad tonight. Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Kluot. Eric, if you would like to kind of give us what has happened, and I would appreciate it, and I think it might benefit
Same thing we had on the other state.
Currently, the contract was issued as a master contract for architectural services that we needed for FEMA to get additional information. We're now getting into the actual, where we can start getting into looking into the design. The original contract had a $0, so every time we go somewhere, we needed to add the amendment. The original contract for the original amendments was for Station 60, and now we're ready to move and include Station 61 to start looking at the design, estimating about $125,000 worth of engineering and architectural fees based off of the state office facility and planning management scale for the project.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lawler.
I just want to tell Dawn and Ashley, thank y'all very much. I had some questions about this earlier in the day. They got me the information legally split, and I really appreciate that, answered my questions. Great job. Thank y'all.
Any other questions? So I have a motion and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item number 13. Ms. Sandra, the monthly contract report. Thank you, Eric.
Good evening. You have before you a list of all the contracts that were entered into in the month of August. Do y'all have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions of Ms. Sandra? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item number 14, the sales and use tax report. Ms. Gwynn.
Thank you. You have your regular sales and use tax report. It's based on collections in July, and that would be for June sales. You can see that it's kind of status quo still with our collections, and compared to the budget at 58.3% of the year, you can see that we're level with the budget also. And guarantee you the news will be much better next meeting. But that's only because there's a $3.7 million escrowed amount that the suit involved a legal suit, and it's been resolved. So a little bump in the end results. And you have your regular charts. You can see that all the sectors were down. And then the pie chart, just giving you kind of an idea where our sales tax are being derived from. And then the last page is the historical chart for all three of the sales tax districts. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions, gentlemen? Mr. Kluwat.
Yes, Gwen, back to the pie chart or the graph. With projects coming forward in industry, do we expect to turn in 2019 with projected?
The projects?
The industrial projects that are somewhat on tap to kind of.
Right. That would be.
Open up in 2019.
That would be 2019, yeah.
We just
And
barely
we hope they all come to fruition.
Yeah. Because like I said, we're just barely a quarter away from that. And
Right.
I just want to recognize for everybody that petrochemical is right now at 46%.
Right.
That through my tenure for sure, I've seen, so now petrochemical is a double digit lower in the 10th percentile or better, lower than it was when I was first elected.
Right.
And we're diversifying on the consumer retail and the motor vehicle, it waves up and down sometimes.
The motor vehicle is down right now.
Yeah.
On this month's report.
I just want.
And we attribute that to all the vehicles that were sold after the flood.
After the flood.
Yeah, I just remember being a younger adult and petrochemical was way up above 75%. And,
Right, it
the
was.
parish is continually working. We saw some of the projects come forward to us from economic development, continuing to diversify within our parish, and that's a good thing.
Right. And then retail is really
And retail
diversified too.
is really,
Yeah.
really kicking right now. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Mr. Cagnolati.
Gwen, just a quick question. Do you know of any of the industrial petrochemical facilities that will be rolling off of the industrial tax exemption in 2019 or between now
I can get
and then?
that from the assessor who tracks that, and I can send it to you or have him send it to you.
Yeah, please do. I'm
Okay.
just curious, because I
Send it to
know that
everybody.
there's been some discussions in
Yeah.
industry that some of them will be rolling off without any known dates, but that would be nice to know.
Okay, will do.
Mr. Dawson.
Gwen, we understand petrochemical down because we've lost, a lot of the big projects that we had in previous years, but I also see, really and we talked about motor vehicles, and I understand that, maybe the flood, but, it may be fractionally, but we see the other two columns are also down year-to-date in 2017. Is there, is that something, do you know what the reason for that trend, or is that something statewide? Is that something that's particular to
Well,
us?
it's region-wide. I mean,
Okay.
I keep track with East Baton Rouge Parish, and they're having the same down.
About, so their taxes are down about the same percentage as ours are? Is that, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Gwynn. We appreciate all your information.
Thank you.
Item number 15, the revenue and expenditure report. Ms.
Good
Amanda.
evening. Before you are the financial reports for the month of July 2018. Page 1, revenues are at 47.67%. Page 2, expenditures are at 47.43% at 58.33% of the year. Page 3 are charts that compare the year-to-date revenue and expenditure for both operating and capital to the budget. Page 4 and 5 gives a brief explanation of the funds that are highlighted on page 1 and 2 that are under the budget for revenue or over the budget for expenditures by 5% or more. And the last page reflects the checks issued in July over 100,000, and the total of those checks was $2,871,824.81. Once you review the report, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Does anyone have any questions from this report? I don't see any. Thank you very much, Ms. Amanda. Item number 16, the bid items to accept the lowest responsive bid.
Good evening. On August 28, 2018, the Purchasing Department received 3 bids for crack sealing material. After review, the Department of Public Works and the Purchasing Department recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by Covington Sales and Service, and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this material.
Move to approve the recommendation.
Motion by Councilman Dawson, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item B has been passed. Item C.
On July 26, 2018, the Purchasing Department received 7 proposals for disaster debris monitoring. After review, the Ascension Parish Non-Engineering Selection Committee recommends accepting the highest ranked proposal submitted by Thompson Consulting Services, and to authorize the parish president to begin contract negotiations for this service.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Councilman John Cagnolotti. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes.
On July 26, 2018, the Purchasing Department received 2 proposals for emergency debris removal. After review, the Ascension Parish Non-Engineering Selection Committee recommends accepting the highest ranked proposal submitted by DRC Emergency Services, and to authorize the parish president to begin contract negotiations for this service.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kluwat, a second by Councilman Cagnolotti. Any questions?
I got a quick question.
Councilman Kluwat?
Yeah, Joan or Ken, one of you guys could answer. And on both items C and D, I know we always put somebody in place. You know, we got to have people in place, and they've got to be based on all the regulations and everything. But during disasters, we may get out with more than one at times, or do we allow them to sub? Or?
I would say that some of these companies definitely have subs that they operate with when they have to pre-stage. But, you know, as you know, Councilman, the reason why we do this is to make sure that when something comes up, that they're able to respond to the needs of Ascension Parish. But I'm sure they have relationships with subs. I'm pretty sure that several of them would do that, and they would probably be looking at, you know, engaging local subs to help facilitate any needs that they will have in the area.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Ms. Jones?
Ken might want to mention that this year, this term,
That's true.
Sorrento, the town of Sorrento,
Of Donaldsonville.
Donaldsonville.
We had to, because of some new rulings that came down from the state, we had to include the evaluation of assessment to procure these particular services with them. The mayor of Donaldsonville sent someone over to represent them, as well as the mayor of Sorrento. So they were a part of the selection committee in doing so.
Yes, because they piggyback.
And no, you can't piggyback.
Can't
The reason
piggyback
they're
on
part of it is they're going to be part of our contract. You no longer
Right.
can
You can't
piggyback
piggyback at all.
or do
Okay.
cooperative endeavor
Good
agreements.
deal.
That's why we had to do it this way.
Clarify that. Good deal.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you all, too, for your prayers for the Carolina coast. My daughter lives in Charleston, and so
Yes, indeed.
I was hoping she would be evacuating, but she's as hard-headed as her mother, so she's not going anywhere. And so,
Not smart.
but if you all will keep her in your prayers, please, and those of her neighbors and friends and fellow residents along that coast. And at this time, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion by Councilman Benny Johnson, a second by Councilman Cagnolotti, and the committee is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.